Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Silver and Black today. Just a quick, fun Q&A. We're in quarantine, and I just figured out we'll climb on some news in Raider Nation today, obviously, as Eli Apple, that deal fell through. We're going to talk about that. And joining me is my co-host, Kelly Kriner, usually on our CBS Sports Radio show, which, of course, is every Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m., and he's joining me by, we had some tech issues, but he's joining me by Skype. Kelly, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Scott. How you doing, bud?
Good. I'm gonna turn up your audio a little bit here. I love this bunker broadcasting, dude. It's like, it is what it is, right? Everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, doing what you can. Got to do something to pass the time. It's a friend of mine actually today on Twitter had he works for Sports Action app and put up odds on whether his dog would eat a breadstick with peanut butter or cheese on it first. And like 30 minutes after that, 3,000 people had already watched the video.
Oh my gosh.
So I mean, that kind of shows where we're at right now.
Yeah, it is. And it's an interesting time because, like, for example, right before we went on the air, I'll share with you the really talented Sports Illustrated writer who's written a bunch of books, Jeff Pearlman, tweeted something I tweeted on March 2nd, which said, oh, this virus is overkill. More people die from the flu. And it was like a gotcha. I don't even know him. He's not connected to me. It was a picture of a tweet. So somebody must have sent it to him or something. But I responded just saying, hey, look, dude, I was wrong. And so what? My family and I are sitting at home. We're doing what we're supposed to do. It's just real interesting. I find that people are angry about the way the government's handled it. And sure, there's lots of things that people can do better and all of that, but it's just fascinating to me that people use it as something to argue over. Where I'm really, I think there's a time when we'll go back and look and say, okay, did this person, did that governor, did that president, did they do the right thing to mitigate the chances of this doing what it's doing? And I'm all for that because you have to. You can't make mistakes of the past. You always need to get better. But I just thought it was kind of funny because I'm interacting with people and saying, yeah, I was wrong. And they're like, oh, well, at least you admit it. You didn't delete your tweet. I'm like, no. You say things, you believe them at the time, and things change. But with the sports world, it's kind of completely changed everything because there's nothing going on. People are struggling. You see what we're doing here on YouTube. With pretty good quality, actually. But then you watch even the local news, the national news, everybody's broadcasting from home, Kelly. So it's not the same. You have people say, oh, I wish the sound was better. I wish this was that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, look, we're all we're caught off guard. We're all doing what we can to mitigate what's going on and to still stay in tune with the people who listen to us or watch us. So we appreciate those being with us. But have you been to the store? Have you been out? Have you done anything recently?
I've left my house 4 times in the last 3 weeks.
Wow.
So I have, the other day I ran to Walmart real quick just to grab a couple things. But I mean, I've stayed in, man. It's with my health and everything, I'm not going to risk this stuff any more than I have to.
Yeah.
I've got a minor heart issue, nothing big, but obviously you can see me on camera every Sunday. I'm not in shape. I'm not going to mess around with this any more than I have to.
Yeah.
What gets me is I hate people. I thought this would be fun. I thought this would be nice. I could handle this. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
It's been 3 weeks, and we've got at least another 2-3 left before we're doing anything here in Vegas.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
No,
So,
but that's the thing is it's until it starts to gain steam and you see what's happening, it's hard to kind of judge it. I'm not a person who panics, so my initial reaction, I think, in my skepticism was because I just don't panic with stuff, right? Even in my life when I've had things go wrong, or I had a young son with health issues, and so I've always stayed calm. Doesn't mean I wasn't worried. Doesn't mean I wasn't overly concerned and stressed by it. And so I think when there's those screaming at the beginning, and sometimes you have to listen to those people who say, hey, this is going to be bad. And then other times we hear so much, we're bombarded with information that sometimes you say to yourself, well, gosh, yeah, the last time I heard it was going to be the end of the world, and it was nothing. So I think you get caught up in that. And what I've learned from this too, and a lot of things, even what we're going to talk about with Raiders football, is that I think usually the truth falls these days somewhere in the middle, usually, because we're so polarized, as evident by, people looking into your 2-month past of tweets to find something you said so they can come back and say, aha, I got you, which is fine, but to me, that's like, okay, that takes some forethought and time and effort when in reality, look, yeah, people are wrong and people get stuff wrong as well. But that's why now, looking at truth, I kind of say, okay, well, somebody says this is going to be horrible, it's going to kill the entire world, and I see people who say, this is nothing. It's probably somewhere in the middle, right? And we're seeing right now with this death rate spiking how bad it can be. And I think a lot of our leadership here in the state of Nevada, Governor Sisolak just issued another order for people to kind of saying, okay, again, stay at home. And we've been abiding by that. Like you, I haven't left. I've gone to the store a couple times, and I got kids at home, so we're always busy here. They're doing school still, so it's really interesting. But at least the one thing we've had to talk about a little bit, Kelly, has been Raiders football in the NFL, which they're now getting criticized over a little bit. And we're going to talk about that on Sunday with Spiro Dedes from CBS, who's going to be joining us along with Scott Bair and Evan Grote. So listen to that on Sunday from 8 to 10. But Kelly, I think today the news, clearly they re-signed Jordan Devey, which I think is a good move. You got to have depth on that offensive line. I thought he performed pretty dang good. And then today, though, the big surprise was, hey, that free agent deal that Eli Apple signed, he kind of didn't really sign it yet, and they didn't end up closing the deal. You don't usually see that a lot. A lot of Raider fans weren't happy, Kelly, with Eli Apple. They didn't think he was a big answer there. I thought he was an okay role player for them. He had some upside. Clearly, his career was not what people thought it was going to be. But were you surprised at all by what happened today there?
I'm kind of surprised. You knew that there were going to be a few deals like this that were going to fall apart. I believe this is the fourth one, with the Michael Brockers kind of being the biggest one before the Apple one. I'm actually okay with this because I'm not a big Eli Apple guy. Now, $6 million for a third or fourth corner is not horrible when you got a veteran guy. But I mean, I would much rather look in the draft or maybe try to find a kind of a cheaper role player kind of to fill in there and use the cap space somewhere else. Now, what I don't know, because I don't know if this was factored into the cap space they already had because the deal wasn't finished, but they had thrown that $6 million number out there. Well, if you're not signing Eli Apple, if you knew that, the NASA deal was $8 million a year. There's $14 million. If you cut Gabe Jackson, that'd be 24. That's more than enough to go after a Yannick Ngakoue or somebody else. So I'm wondering how much this would have changed your thinking on any that this may not.
Oh, we got Kelly freezing. Oh, there you are. You froze on me for a minute. But yeah, no, you're right. You're right. How did it change? Did it perhaps kill another deal that they would have done had they not done the Eli Apple deal, or at least had pegged the money towards it? So I think for folks looking at that, and we just wrote a story up. I wrote a story up on the website about 3 cornerbacks. I think the Raiders would be fine taking at number 19 in the draft. We'll talk a little bit about that. But to me, that was a position of need, clearly, as is safety, right? Linebacker. Do they need more depth at linebacker? Sure they do, but I think they did a pretty good job of addressing that in free agency, and with Corey Littleton and Kwiatkowski. So I think that from that standpoint, they're in a better place. Now, cornerback, you take another step back, which to me now even points that, well, unless something crazy goes on, that taking a cornerback in the first round, because they don't have a second round pick, is maybe more realistic now, unless they go out and do something else and trade the trade market. The NFL is doing a lot more trades than it used to. But with that, Kelly, we looked at those cornerbacks, and you're quoted in my story because I texted you about it when I was writing it. And you look at the 3 guys, CJ Henderson, of course, who we've always heard about, Kristian Fulton, and then Diggs from Alabama. When you look at those guys, I think taking a cornerback at number 19 with those talent, if any one of those 3 guys are available, which they 2 of them should be, I think, makes a lot of sense now, especially in light of this Apple news, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I don't think all 3 of those guys will be there. But, I mean, it wouldn't shock me that much because CJ Henderson is allergic to tackling, so that's going to have him fall down some of the boards. Now, he's an athletic freak. I mean, he's a perfect guy to have, as a corner. But, yeah, he just doesn't want to tackle. Fulton will be there, Diggs will be there, and even Jeff Gladney out of TCU is another guy. He's probably into the first round kind of range, so he's going to be in there too.
Yep.
Mayock and Gruden may look at that and see his skills is in there. So I mean, you've got some talent, and with the Eli Apple, you have 3 third-round picks. I'm working on something that I'm going to be sending you about draft targets at each position in each round, and Bryce Hall as a possible third-round pick to me. I had him as a first-round guy last year. He's probably going to be available there for the third round because he got injured, because everybody's not going to have a good shot to get his medical. I'm definitely throwing one of those third-round picks for Bryce Hall.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where they're going to be now with the space. God, hello, let me spit it out. With the space cleared with the deal with Rodney Hudson and him restructuring, taking that bonus instead of the salary, and now with the Apple deal by the wayside, they do have the money there. But then again, Kelly, they do have those needs. They have the needs, and they still have a lot of them. It's not this team has improved vastly. Don't get me wrong. Especially on defense, but they still need to fill in the roles. In the NFL, you have attrition, you need depth, and clearly in the draft, I still think number one I think at number 12, one of those wide receivers is going to be there. I would be completely shocked that if they didn't take one of those guys at 12, if they're all there. Now, crazy things could happen; they always do sometimes. But for me, it's clearly cornerback, safety. That's going to be there in the first round, and then if they don't trade into the second round, you're right. There'll still be some guys left in the third. It doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to go get talent. Is there anybody left in free agency though to address those needs that you see as maybe as a prove it type guy, as a guy that might not be guaranteed a starter, but somebody you might want to take a flyer on?
Nobody really sticks out for that, but Logan Ryan is still out there if you want to go and get a number 2 corner or maybe a super good slot guy.
Yeah.
Now that you have this money that's been freed up, rumor was he was wanting $10 million a year. That's a little rich for me, but he's still out there, so obviously he's not getting that 10. If you gave 6 to Eli Apple, I'd give 8 to Logan Ryan tomorrow.
Yeah, and they've been rumored to be talking to him as well, so we'll see if that happens. But he out of all the guys left in the market from that position, he's the guy, right? And so you got to figure that there's other people. I mean, Philadelphia needs help there as well. So there's other teams that are going to pursue him. So where does that price? But now they have some freed up money with Apple not there. Maybe that's what they do because of the need. I would hate to see them though overpay because of that need. I think you have to think about the future, and you can't get too caught up in what you need now. Especially when you have the opportunity to go get some of those young guys. But anybody else out there, Kelly, you see that you think they could pursue from a defensive standpoint?
Well, another corner, Drake or Patrick, was just let go. Not a big fan of him, but I mean, as somebody who's kind of a stopgap, something like that for a year or two kind of guy to fill in there, he wouldn't be too bad. I'm not sure how, like I said, with the Apple thing, I'm not sure about the about the salary cap money and everything. But I'm just going to say that Jadeveon Clowney is still unsigned.
I've said that early on. I talked myself out of even mentioning it because I didn't think, well, geez, with what they did so far, they bolstered the position, not that position, but they bolstered the defense and the inside with Malik Collins. But yeah, he's out there, and if the price is right, if the price keeps coming down because he doesn't have a taker, then why not? Why don't you? Because yes, he's overrated. You said it on last week's show, right, on CBS Sports Radio, that Jadeveon Clowney is just too. He gets way too much credit for what he's done when you look at his track record. But he would be a nice little addition at the right price. I think though that the market is in a weird place because of all the coronavirus stuff. Because we're all in this big pause, Kelly. It's just I don't know how you evaluate. I mean, going into the draft, it's almost better. I read Michael Lombardi's column where he said, you know what, it's almost better because now you can't have all these biases come into play. You're going to have to basically go with what the film says. And is that necessarily a bad thing?
Well, no, it's funny you mentioned that because I was talking to somebody the other day. We were texting back and forth, and he works for an NFL team, and he's a tape guy, so he loves this.
Yes.
Because he doesn't want to be able to go into the room and say, hey, here's tape against Georgia, here's tape against blah blah blah, and then have another guy's like, well, yeah, man, but he was so good in the room, we love this guy. Because, like I said, the guy I'm talking to goes, I don't care who you are. I care what you are.
Right.
He goes, that's flat out. He goes, unless there's huge red flags, he goes, your tape is all I care about. So he's loving this because like you said, that bias, that, oh man, we really like this guy, that you kind of look past some of the warts in the game. Now you're just like, okay, here's the game. If he fails because of his personal stuff, that can happen too. But at least we know on film we're taking the best player.
Yeah. Well, and those biases are huge because you get it, and I think in our lives we've all been in that position. It could be you're at a store, or you're at a wherever it might be at an event, and suddenly the crowd tends to like clamor towards something, and it piques your interest, and then you kind of follow the crowd. And I think that happens in the NFL. You see runs on players, and you see that you're around at the draft, like physically when everybody's together, you start to hear things and you start to hear chatter, and it might make you use judgment you wouldn't usually use and jump at things. And so to me, the sitting back, having to evaluate these players based on the play that they've seen on film alone, basically. Now they've talked to a lot of them obviously at the combine and all that, but not having that recency bias of talking to somebody and hearing the buzz around these players, because there's no buzz because these guys can't go visit. They're doing video visits, which are not dynamic, right? They're just kind of like we're doing right now. And so to me, that's going to change it all. But I wonder how that changes the Raiders. That might actually help them, right? Because if somebody's going based on tape and they go on need versus kind of who's hot, like Jalen Hurts, right? We heard Jalen Hurts' name moving up, and that's not good for the Raiders because they were maybe hoping to get him in the third round. But to me, it's just an interesting dynamic because of where we're at. Now you need another cornerback. Now you still need safety. You still need to address wide receiver. You still need to address depth at those other positions on defense as well. But when you look at safety, Kelly, and you look at safety in the draft, is there anybody there, any other players there that you would target if you were in the Raiders' war room?
The top two safeties into that first round for that 19th pick, you're looking at McKinney out of Alabama and then Grant Delpit out of LSU.
Yeah.
This time last year, Grant Delpit was a top 3 or 4 player in the coming draft after last year. Had a I don't want to say a bad year because he won the Thorpe Award on reputation alone. That tells you how good everybody thought he was the year before. He wins an award the year after on the way he played the year before. But if he hits his ceiling, he is a top 5 guy in this draft. Now, if he doesn't, he might be out of the league in 3 years. That's the problem with him. He's got a lot of missed tackles. That's kind of his thing. But I'm wondering how much, because a lot of them came last year as well. He was injured last year a little bit. How much of them was him trying to save himself for the draft? How much of it was him, having issues in that area? But to me, I mean, either one of those guys, especially if you throw Grant Delpit in that secondary, because Abrams gonna be your thumper, your guy that's gonna lay people out. You've got Delpit back there just waiting to ball hawk stuff, and that's what he's excellent at. So I mean, if you get either one of those guys and they hit, you've got a starter. But if you get Grant Delpit and he hits the way that, if he lives up to his potential, you're looking at a Pro Bowler for years to come.
Yeah, no, he's a fantastic player, and I think that's the thing we saw. Even with Jonathan Abram, right? His limited play last year, he's one of those. You said it after the draft last year. You said, "Listen, he's going to have to adapt the way he plays because of one, he's so aggressive. He's such a hitter." And he ended up getting hurt, right, because of that. And you look at some of these guys, even the guys we mentioned in the story this week, like CJ Henderson and others, and I think with Diggs particularly as well, he's one of those guys who gets really physical at the line and hits hard, and you have to adapt the game. So are you going to be able to do that? And with Delpit, obviously, this is the same thing too. When you look at linebackers, I've seen a lot of Raider fans tweeting at us over the last week or so that no, we still need a linebacker in the first round. I just don't see them going linebacker there at 12 or 19. Do you?
I don't. We still need linebacker, but with getting Littleton and Kwiatkowski, it went from a glaring need to a depth thing. So like I said, you have 3 third-round picks. You're getting some talent in that third round. You can package a couple of those, move up in the second or whatever. You're still going to be able to get some good players. I don't think linebacker is at the point to where you have to go after somebody in the first round because we covered you've got 2, and that's 2 more than we had last year. So that's a great start. You know, with the defensive stuff that gets ran, that's kind of all you really need. You can find some people to kind of fill in for everything else. I'm not going after a linebacker with 12 or 19 unless for some reason Isaiah Simmons decides to rob a bank or a liquor store in the next 3 weeks and he's there at 12.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, let's look for some questions here on YouTube. Some people saying they can't hear you, so we're going to adjust your audio as much as we can. We got them pumped all the way up, folks. Some challenges today, but we'll work through it. Can't hear Callie. Let's see. Got that right. Appreciate all your Raider perspective. Thank you, Callie King. Will the fan base jump to Las Vegas? Yes, of course, the nation travels. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, too, is all of this stuff going on with the coronavirus. And first of all, we hope you all are keeping safe and your families are well. Is the Raiders move to Las Vegas? It's kind of like a wet blanket a little bit. The stadium construction continues, which is great. So does the headquarters out there. But with the draft being moved from Las Vegas, we're hearing now this week there were reports that the draft will come back to Las Vegas in 2022. I don't understand. Because of the extraordinary circumstances, wouldn't you think you just move everything a year later? Doesn't that make more sense?
Well, didn't they already have 2021 given to somebody?
Yeah, but... Well, they did, but they also had 2020 given here. So it's like, why not just move everybody a year later?
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I mean, if they hadn't already thrown that out there, they obviously would have done that. But now you're like, well, you know, we're going to move Green Bay back. You know, you can't. I tell you what, if it'd been some other franchise besides Green Bay,
maybe
they may have moved them.
Yeah.
But Green Bay's that one thing in the NFL. It's, you know, hell, I'm an owner of the Green Bay Packers. I own stock in that company.
Yeah.
It's that one team that's got so much history and everything. They're the one you're not going to push to the side for Las Vegas. Now, if it'd been Indianapolis or been Arizona, something like that, it wouldn't shock me one bit. If they're like, yeah, we're just going to bump you guys back. Sorry, but this happened. But with it being Green Bay, I think that may have weighed into it for a little bit.
Yeah, but you're not going to get 300,000 people in Green Bay, right?
No, but I don't think the NFL, to be honest with you, I don't think the NFL really cares about that as much as everybody else does. Because, yeah, it looks cool to say that on TV, we had all these people out here. But the NFL's really not they're making their money on the TV, they're making money on everything else. So for them, I don't think those numbers matter to them as much as everybody else thinks it does. Yeah, no, that's true. And clearly, if you're in a big metropolitan area, you're going to have more people anyway. I do want to give a shout out to my man, Mando Cervantes. Look at this. You remember, Kelly, our buddy Eddie with the Ironworkers that we always see down at Stage Door? Yeah. So Mando, Eddie had this custom cup. He shows us this Raiders cup. His buddy, Mando, down in Los Angeles, he paints motorcycles, cars, and all that kind of stuff, right? So Mando reached out to me, says, hey, man, I want to make you a cup, right? So check this out. I'm going to hold it up to the camera, right? Look at this work on this. MCC Designs, they do motorcycle painting, right? So this is all the kind of stuff they do on motorcycle. Put my name on it, put the show logo on it and everything like that. We're going to link, once the video's live and archived, I'll link Mando's Instagram thing there. But thank you to him, and thank you to Eddie here with the Ironworkers. Hopefully Eddie's doing some work, as I know a lot of us are not working or staying at home, whatever we may be doing. So very cool. Again, thank you to Mando, and he will make them for you. So if you want to buy one of his cups and have him make a custom cup for you to say whatever you want Raiders related, he will do it for you. We'll make sure we put that on you. The 21, thanks Dave Gonzalez on YouTube. Kelly, the 2021 draft is near the mistake Cleveland. So Cleveland.
It's in Cleveland. Yes. Cleveland rocks, right?
No,
So
they're gonna screw that up somehow.
Yeah, so they're going to be there, but you're starting to get a lot of clamoring, Kelly, around the league, especially with journalists, especially with TV guys, about the NFL being tone deaf to what's happening in the country. I mean, there are people dying. It's not a light matter, and everybody's stuck at home. It's an extraordinary time, and the NFL continues to work, and so I have a mixed feeling about it, and it's not just selfish reasons because of what we do, but to me, there are a lot of businesses that are operating remotely. Okay, so there are businesses like the business you're in and others that are retail focused, and you're closed. You can't be open. but there are other businesses that can do it. And so then you get into a point where, is it ethical to keep working while others are not? And is the question, well, because the other leagues aren't working, does that mean they shouldn't? Where do you stand on that? What do you see their point a little bit? And if you were in charge of the NFL, would you be doing the draft in April, or would you maybe delay it?
What people need to realize, average people look at sports as a sport. It's an entertainment. It's a business. And like you said, all these other companies are doing all these things remotely. The NFL can do all of this stuff remotely. They can still pull this stuff off without having to have everybody at the draft, without having to have everybody there. You know, you don't need 35 people in your war room at your draft for your team. You know, you can have 4 or 5 guys sitting around a conference table. You can have 4 or 5 guys doing a Skype thing like this.
Right.
So there are things that you can do to still be doing this. And if you think the NBA, you think they just gave up and like none of the NBA people are working? No, they're doing all this stuff behind the scenes. They're trying to figure out how to finish their season. This is just the draft they're talking about where no one has to be there. They're trying to figure out a way to shuttle all of these people. And I mean, and I get that because there's a lot of money and there's billions of dollars involved in this stuff. You know, the one thing I heard that I thought would be funny to see, they were talking about having one city host the NBA season.
Yes.
Like basically, and Vegas was brought up there.
Yes.
Because we've got T-Mobile, we've had games in Grand Garden Arena, we've got college championships in the Orleans and the Thomas and Mack. You could legitimately have 4 or 5 NBA games going on at any time in this town. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, it is what it is. I don't think that'd be a good idea long term. But I mean, if you really want to finish that season, that's a possibility. What the NBA is doing is no different than the NFL right now. It's no different than the NHL, who's still trying to get a season going, except for Toronto basically shut that down.
Well, and that's my point too. Is like, you know, look, I'm as concerned as the next person about our country, about the people in it, about getting sick. You know, I have a big family, right? So we're all concerned. And I think that, you know, and I'm still working at home every day. So I don't know what the expectation is. Is it realistic to think, you know, some people, again, in times of crises, I'm just not somebody who goes to extremes. I don't say, oh, well, geez, they're not going to play college football this year, like Kirk Herbstreit said, right? Now, do I think he's completely wrong? No. Do I think maybe they have to delay the start of the season and change the way things are done? Especially, you know, are you going to have 80,000 people in a stadium come the end of August? I don't think so, but you don't know. We just don't know enough now. We're hoping that all the stuff we're doing is going to damper and kind of flatten that curve, as they call it, to make sure that life can go on. But I think you have to cross bridges when you come to them. Yes, you have to make decisions now long term. Were tough decisions made to cancel seasons and all this stuff with the college baseball and softball and the spring sports? Absolutely, don't get me wrong about that. But at the same time, I think you have to work. Those businesses are continuing to operate. Whether or not they kick off the first week of September or not may be in question. They might have to delay the depending on what happens. They might have to delay the season by a certain amount of time. But to me, I don't understand what people want. They want everything to shut down and no business to occur. There's already a lot of businesses shut down. There's already a lot of businesses that are going to go out of business by no one's fault. I mean, we're all trying to be safe and make sure we protect one another. But I don't see any point in being overly critical about the NFL. Is the NFL tone deaf to what's happening in the country? I don't know. Are NFL teams and their communities, pardon me, doing things to help out? I think they are. And so I don't know what people's expectation of the league is. You know, if this happened during the NFL season and they had a response like the NBA, I don't know that we'd be having the discussion.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up college football. I was texting with a friend of mine who is a booster for a decent college football team in a very popular conference. And a big-time booster gives a lot of money to the school. He does not think we will have college football at all this year.
Oh, really?
He honestly believes that there will not be a season.
Wow. Well, and what's interesting about that, though, so let's think about that. Again, you have to put human lives above money. There's no doubt about that. The value of human life is not measurable. But at the same time, look at what that does to those schools. So since we're in Las Vegas, I'll use UNLV, who's a mid-major, has been a terrible football program. So this year they have 3 out-of-conference games, 2 against big opponents, right? Against Cal, Pac-12, and then against Arizona State out of the Pac-12 as well. And so those 2 games alone are where they're going to make money. And so when they make money on those games, that floods their whole budget. If you cancel those games, now if they don't play at all, that's different. You're not spending money either. But if you delay the season, let's say, and you cancel out of conference games and you just move it to a conference schedule where you start in mid-September or whatever, end of September, and it goes later into the winter, you lose all that revenue. And in some ways, it would be better for them to cancel the whole season versus canceling those big money games where a lot of those lower level schools, not Power 5 schools, but the others, make all their money.
Well, yeah, but on the other side of that, I mean, your expenditures and your costs for college athletes are already kind of locked in with coaches' salaries and athletic scholarships. So whether you play those games or not, you're still putting out that money for stuff like that. So you're going to see a cancellation of half or most of a college season is going to cripple a lot of your small schools. And it won't be the basketball program or the football program. It's every other sport, because every other sport for a college loses money. So it's like, if you're going to have to start making cuts, you're not doing it on the football, basketball level. You're doing it on, I mean, just say tennis. You're doing it on track and field. You're doing it on things like that. So it doesn't hurt the football program long term, but it'll cripple athletic budgets for other schools.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's one of those deals where we're in such uncharted territory. I mean, the last time that we've had anything close to this was, of course, World War II, right? When they did cancel a lot of and it was the right thing to do. I mean, the world was at war, so we might end up seeing that. I think the NFL, the NBA, NHL, all those teams, their seasons, I think we're going to know, this order for us, and now the United States government saying, look, now we need to wait till the end of April to see where we're at to assess what things might look like. Can we open things again in May? A lot of experts are saying June, July. So if that's the case, then you can't see the NBA or hockey picking up their season in July. At that point, you kind of maybe just say, okay, well, geez, we're going to start in 45, 50 days anyway, so we might as well just bag it and move on to the next season. But at some point, they're going to want to get back, whether that's with limited spectators or if that's a later season, a shortened season like baseball wants to do, then we'll see what happens. But with football, if NFL football is moved and canceled, that'll be a huge economic impact too on the entertainment industry overall, including television, which is already reeling because they've lost advertisers because nobody's advertising. There's no new programming, not only in sports but entertainment as well. So it's just a whole mixed bag, and to see how it's going to impact the NFL, impact the Raiders, will be fascinating, and we'll keep an eye on it, Kelly. But what else? I mean, man, what else you've been up to? I'm looking at questions here. People putting down their area codes to tell us where they're from. 813 Tampa, 916, which is up North California, if I remember correctly. 209, which is the Central Valley. Somebody likes not hearing you well. Other people want to hear you more.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The person that said they couldn't hear me, were they glad or were they complaining? Because, I mean, that's a 50-50 shot there. We all know we know I've got my fans, but there are a few people out there don't like me.
We're all in that boat, man. It's okay. It works fine for us. But, yeah, I mean, it's football, I think, gives people a respite, and I think the psychology of what's happening right now for people, I've been watching a lot of Game Pass, going back and watching Raiders players individually, so I can speak better about them. I mean, we watch the games clearly every week during the season, but once we get past a game, we kind of move on to the next one. To go back and watch some of these games, watch Derek Carr, for example, and watch what he did last year, and some of the criticisms he got unfairly and some that were fair, and kind of understanding that better. Also looking at the offensive line. I've been watching the offensive line a lot to see how those pieces will fit together, and how that'll continue to grow. It's been fascinating, but man, it's hard because you're jonesing. I mean, I feel bad for the rest of the folks, and you see it, the rest of the folks in sports radio, in sports talk, on ESPN. I mean, what do you do? There's only so much you can make up. I mean, even the most creative people are coming up with great stuff, but it can only last for so long. And I wonder too, Kelly, is there danger for the world of sports that some people without it now realize that they probably don't need it as much as they thought they would?
No, because everybody, even the casual fan, realizes how much even having that small conversation at work between coworkers, you don't have any. It's like a glue for society. Even if you're not into sports, you're going to have a sports conversation with somebody, or all those people that you didn't like because they're into sports. Now they're talking to you. So now it's like I have nothing in common with this person. They have nobody to talk to. Now they're talking to me. But the biggest thing, like, I never even thought about this until, like I said, I was talking to my friend that's, if there's no college football season, I've been betting on sports for 25 years.
Yeah.
This would be the first year where I don't have something to gamble on. Now, I've bet on a few, like, some table tennis and stuff just for fun because I'm stuck in my house. Now, I don't have to gamble. I don't have like a need to go out and gamble on stuff if I can leave my house and do stuff. But it's a little extra income for me every with college football.
Sure.
It's like I've come to kind of just expect that's my ancillary income for dinners, cigars, stuff like that. It's like I don't know what I'm going to do for 4 or 5 months if I'm not watching 8 hours of football games a day.
Right, but Kelly, you also love college football too. I mean, you watch it, and how does that if you have no Go ahead.
So yeah, that's my point. That fills out for at least 5 hours every single day of the week
for 4 months.
So from what I take for like that's for 4 months. That's what I do.
Yeah.
It's like a second job. So it's like, yeah, I lost my first job, and now I've lost my second one. Like, what the hell am I going to do to fill my time?
Yeah, no, I get that, and not only that, but the impact on the pro game, Kelly. If there's no college football. So if you're a kid if you're Trevor Lawrence, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence, but if you're a kid, a lot of these kids who have good senior years or good junior years that work their way up and then suddenly become hot draft property, they don't have the opportunity to do that. And the kids, even like Trevor Lawrence, who now were on the shelf, and you can tell me they work out, but it doesn't matter. Nothing's like game experience. How does that impact the NFL draft and how teams are going to evaluate those kids that they're going to, and how do you select the draft order? Do you stick with the year before that and just say, okay, we're just repeating the same thing over and over again? Is that a fair, equitable way to do it?
Well, that was going to be the thing I was going to bring up. If they don't, like, I don't see any possible way they don't have at least a abbreviated NFL season. But say it gets wiped out and they say, well, we have to keep next year's draft order. One of the worst franchises in the history of the NFL was just gifted the first round pick when you have, like, say they take Joe Burrow this year and you get the first round pick next year.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what that first round pick would be worth next year with no college season? Because you can't really evaluate anybody, but everybody wants Lawrence.
Yeah. Well,
that would be the most valuable first round pick, in my opinion, in the history of the draft if there was no season, because you know what you have enough with Lawrence to where you can take him number one and you feel safe.
Right.
You can't say that about any other player in the college football right now.
No, but to me, that's why, Kelly, if and again, let's hope we never even get to this point, but I think, it's not out of the realm of possibility, so it's worth talking about. If you don't have a college football season, I think the NFL would have to come up with a different way, like a lottery system where if you were in the bottom 10 teams the previous year, then you get more lottery balls, and then the rest of the teams only get one or whatever it may be, because how else would you do it? Because you're right, because then Cincinnati gets Joe Burrow, and then basically it's like, hey, we're open for business. What do you want? You can either trade for Joe Burrow or you can trade for that first pick, which will be the most valuable pick in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, and to me, Joe Burrow's more valuable than Lawrence in that opinion, because the Bengals first year have paid the bulk of that salary. You would be getting Joe Burrow for like $5 to $8 million for 4 years. Joe Burrow would be the most valuable piece in the history of the NFL, because you're getting a starting quarterback for $0 basically for 4 years.
Yeah, no, that's right. But that to me is I think I'm sure the league is looking at all of these situations, because they have to say, okay, if in a perfect world, by summertime we're coming out of this and we're doing better and people are back to work. Maybe not. It's not 100% back to society the way it was, but maybe we're on the road back to the point where we get to early fall and suddenly things are, at 80%. If not, though, they have to plan for it, right? They have to plan. They have the NFL being a multi-billion, $100 billion business, whatever it is. It's got to be able to be able to plan for contingencies, because a part of the reason we're in the issue we're now is we didn't have a lot of contingencies for something like this that happened. And I'm not talking about the healthcare piece of it. I'm talking about the overall business and economy piece of it. So if that's the case, the NFL has to plan. They have to be able to figure out, okay, if we have to move the season later, how do we do that? And to me, that's, God willing, and we get this thing under control as quickly as we possibly can. I still see, I really believe the NFL season will be delayed or at least move later, because why not? You could move it. You could have the Super Bowl in late February, early March. It wouldn't matter, right? So you could move the season by 4 weeks with no problem whatsoever, because you're not really impeding on anything. Yeah, the NCAA tournament, but who knows what's going to happen with that. So to me, making those contingency plans and having a kind of a path to, okay, if the season's delayed, if the season has to be canceled, if we have to play a shorter season, whatever it is, you got to figure that they're doing all of this in planning in New York.
Oh yeah, they're throwing every idea around you can, because it's a $9 billion industry. You're not going to give up. Listen, they care about money. We all know that. They're not going to give up anything they don't have to. But you mentioned it kind of earlier. Imagine if the NFL season did get canceled and they had a NFL draft lottery as big as the NBA lottery is, where nobody cares about a pick past 4. Do you have any idea, one, the ratings, or two, what you could do to where you had a complete lottery to where you drew all 32 teams and you did it at random?
Oh.
And then the fallout when the New England Patriots got the first pick and got Trevor Lawrence. People would literally burn stuff to the ground because they would know the fix was in.
It would be talked about like the grassy knoll, man, when it comes to conspiracies. But our good friend Stacy asked a question. It's a very good question, Kelly, and that is, would Trevor Lawrence be eligible for the draft because he wouldn't have played 3 seasons?
Well, you don't have to play. It's 3 years after your graduating class, so yes, he would be.
So that's the NCAA rule. It's not 3 years of play in the NCAA?
Because that's why you see a redshirt sophomore can still go, because it's 3 years after his class. But no, that is a good question, though. Yeah, it's 3, and basically it's an age requirement more than anything. But yeah, once you're graduating class, because that's why you'll see, especially in the NBA draft this year, you have a couple kids that went to prep school instead of going to college. So they're 1 year out of their high school class, so they didn't go to college, but they could still go in the draft. So yeah, Lawrence would be available in the draft. It's 3 years after his graduating class. Interesting.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of talk about this. They could just move back. Michael Coley says they could just move back the college and NFL back a month or two. And that's my point. I think that if we get on top of this thing, and again, I'm an optimist, so I think we will. If we get on top of this thing enough to where people are doing better and we're not as concerned with it spreading as fast as it was, then perhaps, yeah. So then perhaps instead of starting the NFL season, Kelly, September 6th, you're starting it October 6th. And again, you have the Super Bowl in late February. It's not like, I think, where is it? Atlanta this year, right? No. Tampa. So if it's in Tampa, Tampa weather is great anyway. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is. Yeah. So to move it later wouldn't really matter. And you might, I could also see, even though they just passed the CBA with the longer season and more playoffs and that, I could see them shaving off definitely preseason games and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to be interesting, especially with the workout stuff, man. OTAs aren't going to happen, clearly. Minicamp, which is usually in June, I think that's pretty much not going to happen either. So the earliest I see NFL players out practicing is probably July.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You'll see that. And that's the thing. Without OTAs, without all this other stuff, you're going to really get a picture of who you have as a player, because a lot of these guys are going to roll in out of shape, not ready to go. You'll see a lot of soft tissue, pulled hamstring, pulled calves. This would be right up, if that happened, if they didn't have an NFL season, the Patriots get the number 1 pick and get Trevor Lawrence. That's right up there with the Patrick Ewing frozen envelope and the Jordan got suspended for gambling thing,
Yeah.
people will talk about this for the rest of the time there's football. And I would hate to see it, but God,
Yeah.
it'd be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know though. I don't think. I mean, the folks watching don't think that it would be fun to talk about because obviously the history with the Patriots and the Tuck rule and all that kind of stuff, people get a little sensitive about that, and I understand that. And plus, I think the Patriots, now that Brady's gone from the Patriots, everybody kind of wants the Patriots to go away, which I don't think is going to happen. They always seem to pull some magic off somehow. But we'll see how it all rolls down. But yeah, I mean, the whole, we're getting some conversation here too about people. Could you imagine how surreal it would be for the NFL to play in front of empty stadiums? Yeah, I mean, especially because those teams. I mean, you look at the Raiders, right? The Raiders moving to Las Vegas, guys. It's about revenue stream. They have a new stadium. They have all these PSLs that they sold. They have all this other streams coming in from sponsors and all that stuff. You know, that's what every NFL team survives on locally outside of the TV money, and that's what puts them into the different stratosphere when it comes to being able to spend money and be economically viable as well. So to me, Kelly, to play in front of empty stadiums, I guess they would do it if they had to. But my guess is they'll come up with some other mitigation factor, or they'll just wait. I mean, again, delay 4 or 6 weeks so that you can play in front of people instead. If that's what the difference is, then I think that's what they do.
The Chargers have been playing in an empty stadium for years. No one cares.
I was waiting for that one. That was good. That was very good.
You knew it was coming, didn't you?
I knew. I knew it was coming, and I wanted to be your setup. I wanted to be your straight man there. But can't be worse than comedians doing stand-up to no audience. At least players could play games. That's true. That's true, my man. I think that's AJ, our good friend AJ. Yep, I agree, and you know because you're a stand-up comedian. Man, I don't know how you do it, AJ. If you got standing up there, is there anything more ballsy than doing stand-up comedy? Kelly?
I don't. But I have a friend that tried it a couple times back home, and just the pain and stuff of him doing that. See, here's the thing. I would like to do something like that. But I have to work, like, I'm the number 2 guy in a comedy routine. I play it like when you and Chaz say something stupid, which you do all the time.
Thank you.
I'm hitting that out of the park on that. I need somebody to work off with, so stand-up comedy wouldn't work for me.
Right. You know? you need the straight man.
Yeah, but the only thing worse than a stand-up comedian doing something in front of 0 people is a quiet audience.
Quiet, yeah.
Because if you see people looking at you and you get no response, that's worse than just getting no response whatsoever.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And I've been tempted to do it. You know, right where you and I live very close to each other on the southwest side of Las Vegas, and we're right near the South Point. And at South Point, they have that dirty 12:30, that kind of stand-up comedy. Yeah. Which they book people into, but they also sometimes have open mic. And I've been tempted to do that and just like, oh, what the hell? Okay, people hate me. Okay, it's 15 minutes of pain, but what the hell? You know, you get up there, you just get booed off stage or whatever, and you're done. You're like, okay, I can't do this. But no, it takes a special talent to do that and to connect, because you not only do you have to tell good jokes, but you have to connect to the audience, which is any performer, right? Any performer, I don't care if you're a singer, you're a dancer, whatever, you have to be able to build that rapport, and clearly you do it, Kelly, because the people who are on Facebook, on YouTube right now, either love you or hate you. So, but that's good. You know what? I like that. Again, either love me or hate me, but in between, it's not so good.
I'm more of a heckler than I am a comedian, but I would never do that because I know how hard that is to be a stand-up comedian. But I'm more of the guy that's like, if your joke bombs, I'm nailing you on it. That would be that'd be more of my thing. But like I said, I would never do that. So that takes balls, man, to get up there. You're opening yourself up in front of all of these people. I have so much respect for that.
Yeah, our longtime viewer and listener, Gary Daniels, says, tomatoes coming your way, Gully. Yeah, I think they would. I get tomatoes thrown at me on Twitter and stuff all the time, so it's the way it goes. But it goes with the territory. But no, Kelly, I think with doing a radio show with you, you're absolutely great at that. Because you're so observant, so you'll hear one of us misspeak on something, and then boom, that's your opening, right?
I'm observant and I don't care. That's the two most, like, here's the
liberating
thing. You have to throw some jokes out there every once in a while.
Yeah.
That or like on Twitter today, somebody made they did a math tweet joke, and I went and did another, like, a higher version math tweet joke that I know no one got. but one person, and they followed, DM'd me to thank me for the joke, but they said what they did for a living. It's as nerdy as you can get. She goes, I love this joke. It's the greatest thing I've ever heard. That's all I need is that one person. That somebody got it. I'm good. I will keep throwing. I'll keep throwing stuff and see what sticks, man.
Why not, man? You got to keep going, right? That's the thing, is you never give up and keep working. But we wanted to just jump on and why there's not much going on, and we have a show on Sunday again. Spiro Ditas is going to join us. He is a play-by-play guy on CBS. I'm sure you're familiar with him. A good young broadcaster, the kind of next generation of guys who is going to be here for a long time. We'll talk to him about what we talked about a little bit tonight, Kelly, which is the NFL, the season, what might happen, what might not happen. We'll also get his point of view on the Raiders and what they've been able to do in free agency, and what they're going to do in the draft too. And then Scott Bair, a good friend from NBC Sportsnet up in the Bay Area, a longtime beat guy, reporter for them covering the Raiders. He's going to, and actually somebody who worked with my brother in radio years ago, so we have a connection, San Diego connection. But he's going to come on and talk to us a little bit about that as well, the NFL and what's happening, but also the Raiders specifically. So we'll talk to him about the free agency class and what he sees going on with the organization most recently as well. And then Evan Grote. Now, we had big news this week as we welcomed the Just Pod Baby podcast. A lot of you know Evan from the Silver and Black Pride stuff that he used to do there. So he's going to be on with us, talk a little bit about what his podcast is about, but also we'll talk Raider football with him as well, because we continue on. Yes, the world has kind of stopped a little bit, but we're edging up on the NFL draft. We got just a few more weeks to go, through about 3 weeks now. Yeah, it's 3 weeks from today, right? Exactly 3 weeks from today. So we're going to be ready for that, and we'll have extra coverage of that, Kelly. But
is today Thursday?
Today's Thursday. I know. I had to ask myself that today.
I know. Honestly, I just found that out. I thought it was Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
I need to fix something that I set up for tomorrow.
No, I was actually on a business conference call earlier today, and the gal I was on with, so how you doing? I say, you getting ready for the weekend? And I'm like, yeah, man, I can't believe it's only Wednesday. And she's like, it's Thursday. I said, oh, okay, it's Thursday. So I'm in the same boat, man. We're losing track of everything. And then I always have to forget. I love the tweets I'm seeing that people are saying it's March 33rd, which I find hysterical, because it does. That end of March, the last 2 weeks of March, we were all cooped up in all this danger around us with this terrible disease. And it seems like it's still March. It seems like we haven't left that time period. And so the fact that we're into April, it doesn't matter. They've canceled school in California. They didn't do that when I was a kid. It's a bummer.
Out here, I mean, it's like basically the 7th, I think it was the 17th was when they shut everything down out here, and everybody's complaining about how long March was. Like, guess how long April's going to be? It's going to feel 10 times worse than that, because you knocked out 2 weeks of March before this stuff happened. What's May going to be? Yeah. Even if it's just 2 weeks into May, after 6 weeks of everything else, that's going to be the longest 2 weeks of your life.
Well, and then we're also seeing some talk. You got to look at all the scenarios. You're seeing some talk that, well, isolation could last through May. I'm like, wow. Can you imagine 2.5 months of basically being home, maybe going once a week? One of you, well, there's only one of you in your house. In my house, one of us going to the grocery store very quickly to grab some stuff, and that's it. Although now I'm trying to get everything delivered. But can you imagine being stuck? It's crazy. But I'll tell you what, man. This country, I think Americans overall, and I don't care what political views you have. I'm talking about us as Americans all together. You know what? We're kind of mutts. To go back to Stripes, and we're dogs, man. We persevere. So I think we're going to get through it just fine. And we're going to keep talking Raiders football. Whenever stuff comes up, we'll pop on. We'll do videos like this, and of course we roll on with the show. We have to broadcast from our houses, which is very interesting, right, Kelly? But it's kind of cool because me, I'd be in the studio at 5:30 in the morning on Sundays for an 8 o'clock show. Now I can roll out of bed at like 7. brush my teeth, get a cup of coffee, put on a hat, and get on the air. So it's not all bad, but we certainly are excited. And we're going to start doing that, Kelly. We'll start doing some maybe draft preview stuff as we move forward, because draft content's going to be a little bit harder to come by. We'll do some on the show, of course, but then maybe we'll do some more extra podcasts and some videos for you as well. And we'll get we had a little issue on my end with Kelly's Skype tonight. We will correct that. It will be better next time. So stick with us on that. Kelly, what's on tap for the rest of the night, Kelly?
Actually, I have absolutely planned. I do have a pile of dishes that need to be done, but that's not exactly 100% necessary. But it's funny, man. My house looks like a frat. If the beer bottles were beer bottles, my house right now looks like a frat house on a Sunday morning. I've got water bottles all over my house. There's the pile of that I'm doing right now. There's a load in right now. A bunch of dirty dishes. I mean, it looks like I've had a party here, and no one's felt the need to clean up much. It's like.
But is there pizza boxes though? Pizza boxes.
There's one more in front of me. That's for 2 days.
Pizza. I mean, that's what I remember about college, right? Beer bottles and pizza boxes, man. That was like, and then maybe here and there you'd find like a bag of chips.
Oh yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I'm the kind of person, I need a deadline to do something, and it's like I set my alarm to go off Saturday morning, just for the radio show. Besides that, I have nothing to do. So it's like I just go to bed whenever I'm tired, wake up whenever I wake up. It's like I have nothing to do, nothing planned. It's like I said, I thought today was Wednesday. I made plans to meet somebody on Thursday. I'm pretty sure that. Well, obviously all the stuff going on, I didn't hear anything back, so obviously they just figured it was done. But yeah, I was expecting to go see somebody tomorrow, and not realizing, today's Thursday.
Too much. Well, maybe what I'll do is I'll drive over to your place and I'll just stand across the street and yell insults at you. That'll work, right?
It's actually funny because my house, I've got a second floor balcony that I smoke cigars on.
Oh.
I've talked to my neighbors more in the last 2 weeks than I have the 5 years I've lived in this house, because everybody's just kind of staying on their porch because they have nowhere to go. So we're just kind of yelling at each other across the street all day.
Yeah.
It's actually nice to get to know everybody.
It is. And in Las Vegas, that's the one thing that is very different here, which is because you have 3 shifts, you literally, I've had them in both times I've lived here. You have neighbors that you sometimes never see. And if you do see them, they might be coming home from work after working all night. You're going to work in the morning, and they just pull in their garage because they're going to bed. And so you don't get to see them at all very often, and so you don't get to know them. But that's very true. I'm starting to see my kids, and of course we're not letting them play with it because we're supposed to keep the whole distancing thing. These kids that live down at the end of our block suddenly are showing up at our house to play with our kids, and the kids never thought there was anybody else on our block because the other kids moved away. So it's amazing how maybe the upside to all of this is that we get to know each other a little better. So we'll see how it all works out. But Kelly, we're going to wrap it up, man. And we'll talk more about the draft coming up on Sunday. Make sure you tune in from 8 to 10 a.m. on Sunday, CBS Sports Radio 1140. We will not be having video, too long of an explanation, but with the way the audio works, you saw it last week. We tried to do video and we can't make the audio sync because of the way that not even our engineer and producer is in the studio. They're actually at home as well. Because of that, there's no way to sync the audio correctly. So we can't do live video like you guys have accustomed to. So if you're watching us here on YouTube, I'm sorry about that. We will post the show audio version on YouTube. But what we do want you to do is go get the radio.com app. It's free for Android or iPhone. You can listen to us live on audio. And then, of course, we publish the show later in the day, within an hour or so if the show ends. We post that to our podcast feed, so you'll be able to do that. So go subscribe to the podcast there so you don't miss it, or listen to us on radio.com on the app, CBS Sports Radio 1140. Just search that. You'll find us. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Just Pod Baby, Evan Grote's podcast, now part of the Silver and Black Today Media Group. So that's going to do it. But we'll be back. We'll be talking about stuff. I know a lot of you are messaging us saying, hey, let's talk about the draft. We will. We're going to get into it. We got a couple weeks to really get into that and have some guests to talk about it. And that's Kelly's sweet spot. So we're going to have Kelly do a lot around the draft. And I know, Kelly, you're going to do some stuff for the website too, right?
Oh, yeah. I've got some stuff going on. And if anybody has any questions about prospects or anything, you can hit me up on Twitter at Rating the Draft. I'm basically just sitting around drinking all day, so I have absolutely nothing to do. So
Yeah.
feel free to hit me up. I will try to respond to everybody that sends something. But I mean, I've got nothing going on, man. This like I said, I'm about as lazy as you can get, and this is killing me. Because
Yeah.
like I've had a full-time job since I was 16 years old. Every day of my, I mean, so this is just I'm dying here. So I mean, hey, you got any questions or anything, man? Hit me up. I'll answer. I don't. Even, you got any questions about anything? I don't care. I'll find something. You know, I'll give you my opinion. I'll Google some stuff. I don't care.
Yeah, you're pretty good about that. I never it's never a question of where Kelly stands on something, especially when you're talking about football players or the draft and whatnot. So yeah, hit him up at Rating Draft. He is a great resource there, and he does. Yeah, I can't stump him. So you ask him a question about somebody, he either knows them, or if he doesn't know them, he'll tell you he doesn't know them, and he'll go find out. So make sure you do that. Kelly, we'll talk to you on Sunday, man. We'll see you at the show, or we'll see you, or we'll hear you on the show at least.
Yeah, I guess I'll still be right here on Sunday.
Exactly.
Got the cushy spot in the living room over here.
That's right. I want to thank you guys for joining us here as we get through this isolation, this quarantine with you. We, again, appreciate you and all the support you've shown the show over the last 3 years. We actually are going to be, Sunday will be our 100th live episode on CBS Sports Radio, so a little bit of a milestone there for us. 103 weeks. We had a couple, due to time off, we had a couple of recorded shows and best of shows, but this will be our 100th live show, so we appreciate you being with us on SundayRadio.com app or CBS Sports Radio 1140 here in town. And again, subscribe here on the channel. Hit the subscription button down below. Don't forget to hit notifications and all that way, because subscription is great, but it doesn't actually mean that much, because if you don't get the notifications, you won't know when we go live. So make sure you do that as well. So appreciate you guys. We will talk to you Sunday. Great show. Make sure you tune in. If you haven't tuned into the show before, do so. And we'll see you here on video again. We'll probably do at least one video per week as news warrants, and maybe we'll do a special draft video where we're all in the same room wearing surgical masks. We'll figure it out. But I'll appreciate all your support. As always, check out silverandblacktoday.com. Follow us at silverblack, the number 2 day on Twitter. I am at LVGully, LVGULLY on Twitter as well. We appreciate you guys being with us. And as we always say when we part you, may the autumn wind always be at your back. But at least now make sure it's only in your backyard. So stay safe, everybody. I hope you and your family are doing well. We'll talk to you next time.